that tongue ring. Now that added an element that I was extremely jealous of.
It's time for a journey deep into the Tales of Woe.
Welcome to the Tales of Woe. I'm Mitch, and these are true stories from my life told as best as I can remember them. Some of the names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. This is the story of both my first piercing and my first adult decision. When I was about 15 or 16 years old, a new kid came to our school. His name was James, and he was cool. Into the grunge punk scene like we were. He smoked weed, he lived with his older brother, and his tongue was pierced. Now see, that last one, it's kind of all I heard about in the halls for a few weeks. Did you know James has his tongue pierced? I wonder what that's like. Now don't get me wrong, he was already a cool guy and pretty easy on the eyes, but that tongue ring, now that added an element that I was extremely jealous of. But I was 16, and this was the early 90s. Nobody at 16 in the early 90s had their tongue pierced, except for James. Not only was no 16-year-old getting their tongue pierced in the early 90s, but no one at all was doing it. I mean, maybe a few months prior to that, I'd watched this weird public access show with this old biker dude who would go to piercing and tattoo shops and just kind of show up and be like, "What are you guys doing today?" And he interviewed a guy who'd just gotten his tongue pierced, but he basically had to interview the piercer. He's like, "Well, he can't talk for the first few days because we just pierced it." That's how little we knew about tongue piercings. We thought you couldn't talk for 2 days. Now, I, at the time, just had ear piercings. I had pierced them all myself. I think at that point I had maybe 5 or 6 between the ears. Over time it became 10, and then a friend of mine used one of those piercing guns on me to make it 11. I don't remember which ear. But my mom didn't like that. She said, "No more piercings until you're 18. Then I shall bide my time. One time, I tested her resolve on that policy. Now, I pierced my nose in the middle of the night. She didn't know. I put a little ring in there. I had long black hair at the time, so when she came to pick me up from work the next day, I just put my hair over my face and said, "Oh, I'm really tired." We're driving down the road. It's about 6 o'clock at night. 4-lane road. She pulls my hair back and she goes, "Oh, I see." This insane woman slams on the brakes in a fucking Toyota 4Runner. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. Rush hour on a 4-lane road. Slams on the brakes and stares at me. We spin around 180 fucking degrees. We're facing oncoming traffic. He's still staring at me. You know the rule. Take it out. I was like, "Yeah, all right. Can we not die right now over a goddamn nose ring?" My mother, rest her soul, did not fuck around when it came to policy. Now fast forward, about a month before I'm 18, my mom says, "Hey, what are you gonna do for your 18th birthday?" I'm gonna take advantage of being an adult. Now I know how that can sound creepy, but you also need to remember that my mom had said for years about a number of weird things I'd asked if I was allowed to do, or if I could do, if she'd be okay with me doing. When you're 18, you can do whatever you want. So finally, after all these years, that particular chicken had come home to roost. I said, "I'm gonna go get my tongue pierced." "Oh. That's what you want to do as an adult. Pierce your tongue." "Yeah, Ma. I've been waiting for this for years. I want the kisses and the prestige of being a dude with a tongue piercing. That's bold. It's edgy. I'll be a badass." The plan was set in motion. I was going to call myself in sick. My friend was going to come pick me up at like 9 o'clock in the morning. We were going to drive to the piercing shop, and I was going to get my goddamn tongue pierced. That morning came, I must have woken up at like the crack of dawn. Do you remember when you used to get excited about things and you couldn't fucking sleep? This was one of those. I'd been waiting for this for a while. I was like, I get to call myself out of school. About 5 minutes before the first bell, I called my school. "Yes, I'm calling myself in sick for the day." "Yes, I'm sorry. A parent or legal guardian has to do that." This floored me. I had several friends who were 18 who swore. that you could call yourself in sick once you were 18. But she continued, unless you're 18 years old. Well, I'm 18 today. She has seen this skit before. I'm sure if I was looking at her, eyes probably rolled out of her goddamn head. Sick on your birthday. How convenient. Try not to make a habit of this. For the record, I did not make a habit of it. I don't think I ever called in sick or for any other reason for the rest of the year. But today was important. The shop I picked was very particular. It was HTC in Tempe, Arizona. Side note, you can tell a Phoenician from a non-Phoenician by spelling out the word Tempe and hearing how they pronounce it. If it's Tempe, they've never been there. If it's Tempe, they grew up there. There you go. HTC was owned by a man named Steve Hayworth. Feel free to look it up. He was the pioneer. He was the guy who did metal spikes in the head. He was a goddamn piercing genius. He owned the HTC chain piercing shops in Phoenix, Arizona, and they were second to none. We're talking sterile environments, extremely knowledgeable piercers. They were who you went to if you didn't want to bleed all over the operating table, so to speak. I show up, I fill out the paperwork, I sit in the chair. It looks like a dentist chair. They put a little, dentist-style napkin right on the bottom lip there, and I'm like shaking. I'm ready for the pain. The piercer, his name is Glenn, I remember that because I went to him many, many times. He said, "You look really nervous." Yeah, man, I bit my tongue many times and it hurts like a son of a bitch, but a needle going through there, Relax. When you're biting on your tongue, you're using a blunt object on a thick part of your tongue while it's in motion. It's not going all the way through, you're grazing it. What I'm gonna do is take a forceps and flatten out your tongue, and the thinnest part, I'm gonna pull it out, I'm gonna use a razor sharp needle, it'll go right through, get the jewelry in, pop that on, whole process will take about 5 seconds, you'll feel a small pinch just at the very beginning. This is why you go to HTC. This is why Glenn was the best. Even when he left HTC to start his own piercing company, that's where I went. My loyalty was with Glenn, not HTC. So he pulls out my tongue, he flattens it out, and he gets the needle ready, and he says, "Okay, we're gonna pierce on 3. Quick little PSA, if you ever get pierced. They always say they're gonna pierce on 3. They'll never pierce you on 3. They pierce you on 2, because you're not expecting it. 1, 2... Quick little pinch, and I'm done. I have been dreading the pain of this piercing for years. I swear to God, I've had ant bites that hurt worse than that. But I was pissed, and I was heavy, and I was still all in the tongue. I get back home. Some hours later, my mom comes home. So I suppose you got your tongue pierced? She couldn't, I can't, oh God, I can't, I don't want to, that's gross. This was also the senior solo picture day where you go into a studio and you wear a suit and you make stupid poses and you try to look sexy and then you look like an idiot and they pick the worst fucking one for the yearbook where your face is pale and your head's cockeyed and your hair's a mess. Yeah, it was that day. Which my mother did warn me about in advance, but I promptly ignored it. Because I was going to be an adult. Taking the photos sucked. My mother and the photographer just had a gaggle of laughs by the fact that I could barely talk and had a steel rod through my tongue, which was still relatively uncommon back then. Yeah, laugh it up. I, an adult, called out of school and got a steel rod put in my tongue because goddammit America, or something. The next day, everybody was like, "Let me see." And, rinsing with Listerine after every goddamn thing I eat or drink or touch. And I had a list, a waiting list of women who were like, "I want to kiss that." Okay, it wasn't really a waiting list, but a few women had expressed a passive desire to make out with me, and I was like, I have to wait 2 weeks. And then I ended up kissing a girl I had just met, I'd mentioned in a previous story, and the first time she grabbed it with her teeth and pulled it, and it ripped a giant hole, and so I went to a 10-gauge bar, which made me a little bit edgier. I kept that tongue piercing in until about 2003, and then my dentist said, "Hey, if if you want to keep your fucking teeth in your head, take out the tongue bar. There is nothing quite so goddamn jarring as when you bite into something soft and your tongue ring gets caught up in it, and you move it to the back of your teeth, and your tongue ring is in the middle, and you don't know that, and you bite down real hard because it's soft and you're chewy, and you crunch into this, and I swear to God, your whole fucking skull shakes. It's the most upsetting experience. So I might not have it anymore, but god damn it, I lived. There you go. That was the first adult decision I made in my life. So, hope you enjoyed that story. Smash that like button. I mean, just smash it. Break your mouse if you have to. Be a rebel. Live on the edge. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories. And hey, if you've got a topic or question you think I might have a story about, which pretty good odds, go ahead and leave in the comments below or send me a message on any of the social things. I'll catch you next time for the Tales of Woe.